Hey guys, I'm the 50s kid. This is my buddy's E46 and it actually needs new oxygen sensors. The diagnosis is actually in another video. I'm not sure if that's going to go up before this one, probably, but this video is just going to be about putting new pre-cat oxygen sensors in an E46 BMW. So let's get started. Okay, so the oxygen sensors are in the two exhaust manifolds, which is on this side of the car. And you don't have to actually take out the secondary air pump in order to get access to them, but it really makes it a lot easier to at least get access to the front one. If you have a later model, you're gonna have an extra thing with your secondary air pump mounted over here. And again, you should need to take that out for the second sensor because that's back here and you should be able to have access to it. You might not be able to see it very well. You might have to lean over here to get it, but I'm going to take off the secondary air pump here just so that you guys can actually see. I actually need to, otherwise what's the point of a video, right? So I'm just going to undo this clamp here. Slide it down. And because it's rubber here, silicone spray should really help us out. Boom. See how easy that was? So just leave that there. Now, this might actually be broken off its little rubber mounts. It's got three little rubber mounts that's connecting it to this metal bracket that it's in. And on this one, it looks like it's got two mounts. And on this side, I think the previous owner replaced it with some washers or something. So it's kind of leaning over here. So I have kind of less room than I should to actually get at the bolts. But there's a 10 right there. And we're gonna have to get it with a magnet because it's kind of trapped right there. There's another 10 here. And there's another 10 in the back here. So if you just remove those, now it's loose, see? So here's that 10, and that was what we were taking off there and there. And that bolt is right here. So I've got the 3, and set those aside. Flip the sucker over, and just disconnect the connector. Just squeeze it on either side, disconnect it. And now we can just set the pump aside. And I know that I actually have some of these rubber mounts somewhere, so I'll be able to replace these. Looks like 2 of them are broken. So you see how that's like all on an angle and stuff. Shouldn't be that way. So I'll correct that before we put this back on. So there are 2 main kinds of oxygen sensor wrenches. There's this kind, which you stick your ratchet in here, okay? And there's this kind which goes down over the sensor. They're cut out so that the wire has a place to go, okay? The problem with this kind is that I got this one from Harbor Freight and it's actually pretty thin, comparatively speaking, compared to this one. This is just a little thicker. Because this is thin, if there's a really tight oxygen sensor, when you're turning this can actually open. This can actually spread open like this and skip around the oxygen sensor rather than actually grabbing it. So if you're gonna buy this, don't buy the Harbor Freight one at the very least. Try to find a higher quality version if you're gonna buy this style. I prefer this style because I don't have to keep repositioning it. This one, you have to keep, you know, lifting it up and repositioning it, or lifting up, repositioning it in order to get something off. But for me, I have this whenever this really can't work. But I've had these oxygen sensors off already as part of the diagnosis of this car, so they're loose. They're easy to get off. You'll notice right here, this is kind of a cobbled together sensor. It's soldered in right here. It's a long story, but anyway, this is not the original one this is not the old sensor that went bad. It's sort of a newer sensor, and that's besides the point. The point I'm trying to make here is that this sensor for you should be clipped in here. Like you see, this is the number 2, bank 2 sensor. It's clipped into this little clip right here. On this car, the clip is missing for the Ford one. So it'll be here, you just pull it off, and to get it off, just pull, okay? And it comes apart. Do one at a time. That way you don't get mixed up. So here's our sensor, and we just need to unscrew it. It's just right down there, and we're gonna unscrew it. So I just got a little extension. It's a wobble extension, and see, so that was pretty easy because, like I said, I've had it off before which is a good thing. You might need a breaker bar. And also penetrating fluid would also help if you're having trouble. Don't worry, the penetrating fluid is going to cover your exhaust manifold, and when you start the car, it's going to all burn off, so that's what that smoke's going to be. So Bosch is the OEM brand sensor, okay? And this is what it looks like coming out of the box. Got a little cover, and you can see that it actually already has a smear of anti-seize on it, on the threads, which is really good. If you're new oxygen sensors, if you're not using Bosch, if it doesn't have any anti-seize, you definitely want to put some, because that is can mean the difference between, you know, a seized oxygen sensor the next time you go to change this and having to replace the entire exhaust manifold. So I'm just twirling that on. Put the socket down on the sensor there. And just tighten her up. It doesn't need to be just super duper tight. Just, you know, make it so that it's not going to come loose. But don't make it so tight that you're just not going to be able to take it off next time it goes bad. So just find how the sensor connects in there. And in the case of this particular vehicle, see, it's supposed to fit down here, right? So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm probably just going to put it right here, because that's where it's supposed to fit, and I will find a clip for this vehicle at some point in the future. So anyway, let's get started on the second sensor. Okay, so let's do that second sensor. Again, just pulls apart at its connector. Don't let the connector drop down, because it kind of wants to. But here, I'll put it up over here so we don't lose it. Cool, so we'll just do the same thing. And this one has had like the air conditioning, I think one of these air conditioning hoses replaced or something. This bracket should be affixed somewhere. I forget where. So there, that's loose. And it should be, hopefully it's loose enough that I can spin it. It feels definitely loose enough. Oh yeah, this one wants to be very difficult. I'm just going to leave this on the whole time. There we go. So this is what the old sensor actually will look like. Definitely time to go. I think this car has about 90,000 miles or so, and the oxygen sensors are usually good for 100,000, but you could get a lot less than that. Okay, so this one is pre-greased as well, just like the other one was. Again, not too tight. So we'll do up that connector. Of course, I did let it drop. So connect it up, put it through its little bracket. We'll do it this way. Cool. So now we'll put the secondary air pump back, and we will be all done. So here we go. Got all those mounts replaced there. They're not new, but they're replacements. So definitely don't forget to plug the thing back in. That's important. Make sure it snaps, tug on it, make sure it doesn't come back off. Always good things to do. This mount might be a little bent, but who cares? So I'm actually going to put the screws into the bracket, at least right here, because they're just easier to get in that way. That way I'm not reaching down and dropping them. Get this side started first. I'm going to hold the bolt over here so it doesn't fall. There. Good enough. It's in there. So reconnect this hose. Be careful of this hose. It could be pretty brittle. It might break on you. Not very much to replace it. You can find a new hose on eBay for $5 if you want to do that. Hopefully it costs about the same at your local auto parts store. If there's a tear in this hose, you're going to have secondary airflow codes. Make sure when you're messing around with things back here, make sure that this hose, hopefully you guys can see it, but the hose that runs down to the valve, the vacuum valve right here, make sure this vacuum hose didn't break, because if you haven't replaced this vacuum hose yet, it can be extremely brittle, and if you just touch it, it could just crack in half. So be sure to check this. And the vacuum hose you need it should be like the smallest black vacuum hose that your auto parts store carries. I can't remember off the top of my, I want to say it's like 3/16, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, we're ready to start the car and see if we had a success. I'm sure we did, because they're brand new sensors. But anyway, that is the end of this repair video, and thanks for watching.